RIMS is global. Discover why 10,000 of your peers in more than 60 countries are part of the world's largest risk management community. Visit rims.org/membership to find the best membership for you and your organization. Coming to you from RIMS headquarters in New York, this is RIMScast, the official podcast of the Risk and Insurance Management Society. I am Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS and your proud RIMScast host. This is episode 400, and we will be joined by Jerome Mayne, opening keynote speaker for the RIMS Texas Regional Conference 2026. We will talk choices and consequences. But first, let's talk about the RIMS-CRMP. We are delighted to announce that on August 27th and 28th, RIMS President Manny Padilla will be leading the two-day in-person workshop at St. John's University at 101 Astor Place in New York City. A link to the registration is on this episode's show notes. Let's talk about some virtual workshops. The next virtual RIMS-CRMP Exam Prep courses will be July 28th and 29th. And RIMS will partner up with PARIMA for the RIMS-CRMP Exam Prep on September 1st and 2nd. Registration links are on this episode's notes. Also on the webinars page, you will see a two-part series hosted by the RIMS membership department. The Classroom to Career webinar series highlights how RIMS equips students with the knowledge, skills, and connections needed to thrive in risk management careers. Participants will gain insights into industry trends, career pathways, and practical tools that help them confidently step into the evolving world of risk management after graduation. These sessions will be hosted on September 1st and 9th. These sessions are member exclusives and complimentary for members, of course. So if you are interested in becoming a member, this would be the time. Visit rims.org/membership. Let's talk about live events. The RIMS ERM Conference 2026 will be held November 19th and 20th in Columbus, Ohio. Registration will open in July. And be on the lookout for the call for nominations for the RIMS ERM Global Award of Distinction. Visit rims.org/ERM 2026 in July for that announcement. Folks, RIMS is back on YouTube. Our handle is at RIMS Official Channel. We've got plenty of videos there, including RIMScast Canada video podcasts, and other informative and entertaining content from RIMS. Subscribe to the channel today. We have more plugs later. Let's get on with the show. Our guest today is Jerome Mayne. He is an ethics and humorous keynote speaker, and he will be kicking off the RIMS Texas Regional Conference. Jerome is the author of Diary of a White-Collar Criminal. That book is a first-hand account of his career in comedy and his 21-month federal prison sentence for white-collar conspiracy. Learn more at jeromemayne.com. But he will provide a unique blend of ethical insights and humor at the RIMS Texas Regional Conference 2026 in San Antonio on Tuesday, August 11th, with his session, Choices and Consequences, the Human Side of Risk. So we're going to get a preview of that session and also get his perspective on ethical decision-making and how risk managers can avoid certain temptations. We're going to have a lot of fun. Let's get to it. Jerome Mayne, welcome to RIMScast. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
You're a character.
I don't know. I suppose. I get that a lot.
Yeah, I know you get it a lot, but it's wild because you're off the bat a very friendly guy. So Jerome, you came recommended by one of our members who thought that you'd be a great person to kick off the conference. And that's got to be a good feeling.
My God, yeah. I mean, word of mouth. That's the best marketing. You know, you can't optimize, you can't SEO that. You know?
Right. Because the person saw you and they said, this is someone who can bring a different flavor or a different perspective to, I guess, just not to say that it's a total 180 from last year's, which was very much straightforward. You're going to be a little bit looser on stage. I get that feeling.
Yeah, people don't like to think, oh, I'm going to go to an ethics conference. I mean, that could be a real sleeper.
Yeah. So your keynote is titled Choices and Consequences, the Human Side of Risk. And obviously we are RIMS, the Risk Management Society. So what does the human side of risk mean to you? Let's just start there.
My whole perspective is from the human side. I speak about decisions. I don't really speak about financial transactions I don't use a PowerPoint, and I'm not doing bullet points. I'm not a scholar in ethics, but what I do know about, I know about decisions, and really without, you can have all these policies, and you can have, and they're important, right? And policies and checklists and all that, they're really important. But there's still a human being making a decision, especially with the technology and all that.
Yeah.
There's still humans involved. And so my experience and my story really has to do with decision making. And that doesn't matter what industry it is. It's all the same, human. And so that's what I talk about. And I'm fortunate because I get to tell a story. And I guess one of the things that I've heard most is that I connected with the group, and I connected with the group because I'm a regular guy. I'm a regular guy like everybody else in the office. I wasn't a Bernie Madoff. I didn't plan some big scheme. It was decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And hearkening back to your days in real estate and finance in the 90s, were risk managers the type of people that you dealt with on a regular basis? Was that on the radar at the time?
Well, real estate finance, you've got a lot of things that have to happen. There's the guidelines, there's Fannie Mae guidelines, there's underwriters that things or make sure that the transactions are right. And as far as a risk management, they didn't really call it that.
Right.
It was your manager.
Right.
Who kept an eye on it. And with real estate finance, you have you have your underwriters, and they're watching for stuff, and they can't catch everything. And there was less technology back then. So that it was a lot about the human factor.
Right.
And then when you sell all these loans in a pool, and then it goes to Wall Street and whatnot, there are audits every once in a while. I don't really know how that works, but there are audits, and that's where they can find stuff. There are some red flags before it goes there, but that's the risk, I think, and it's maybe after.
Yeah. So you'd say that risk management has really evolved or become a little bit more mainstream since your time back then in real estate?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And maybe it was that industry, but I do know that there were humans making these decisions, humans making the decisions to get the customer involved. And then there were decisions by humans to make sure that financial transaction went through.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there and now, of course, there's even more, computers and how are they going to flag stuff?
Right. And why do you think organizations today sometimes still overlook the human side of risk?
Well, I think ultimately it's the culture, and what they're doing is looking for fraud, maybe, and they're looking for something specific. And I don't know that for sure, but my guess is they're looking for something specific that they've identified. Okay, these types of things are going to mean we should look at it, or that there's a problem. And I think it starts with the culture. It starts with the culture at the organization. And really, it's interesting because silence is, if you're not comfortable thinking about decisions you've made, then I think that can be a red flag right there. And what really, fraud isn't the first thing that happens. It's usually a decision, a mistake, a justification. And then it kind of rolls from there. And a justification is really easy. I know it's easy. If everybody kind of looked at stuff that they did every day, they might say, wow, there was a decision. I wonder, if that was the right one that got me on this path. Because fraud's the last thing that happens. It's not usually the first. Right.
Because in your case, your journey didn't begin with one catastrophic decision. It began with a series of smaller ones, kind of like a domino effect, right?
Yeah. And kind of a domino effect. Yeah. And people call it the slippery slope, and I guess that's okay. I call it sort of the gut feeling. It's the instinct, right? Mm-hmm. Instinct will tell us, and instinct will give you, it's like your muscle memory. So you have something that happens, or you have a decision, something weird. Oh, wow, this document doesn't look right. You know what to do. You feel it right away. And then maybe there's a reason that you don't. And not because you're going to make a bunch of money. Maybe you just want this transaction to go through, or maybe you like the customer and you just, I like them. It's not a big deal. And hey, it's not like they gave me these documents and said, hey, we're going to commit fraud. So,
Right.
it doesn't, it's not always like that. It's, all right, well, it isn't really a great big deal, I guess. And then you keep working with that customer and you realize more and more you're just making decisions to make it through the transactions. And I don't want to blow the story that I'm going to tell.
Yeah, I don't want you to give away the story either. Definitely not.
No, the thing is that it didn't start with one thing, and they never ever asked me to do anything for them. That was an interesting piece.
Right. So my guess is that when you're on stage, you're going to tell us about the earliest warning signs that you ignored and how you sort of justified it for yourself.
Yeah. It was never part of the deal that I was going to make money at it, or that's the weird part that a lot of people. My biggest worry was I was going to get fired, maybe.
Right. Let's take a quick break and talk about all the fantastic RIMS events coming up in 2026. The annual Florida Educational Conference will be held July 28th through August 1st, once again at the lovely Ritz-Carlton in Naples, Florida. A link to the event is on this episode's show notes. As we said at the top, you can register now for the second annual RIMS Texas Regional Conference, which will be held August 10th through the 12th at the wonderful Grand Hyatt on the San Antonio Riverwalk. Visit rims.org/events for registration information. The hotel cutoff date was July 10th. Reservations may still be made after the hotel cutoff date, subject to availability. However, the negotiated group rate is no longer guaranteed, so reserve now. The 11th annual Chicagoland Risk Forum will return to the old post office on Thursday, September 24th. Visit chicagolandriskforum.org for more information. The RIMS Western Regional Conference will be held October 4th through the 7th in Seattle, Washington. The agenda is live and registration is now open. Visit rimswesternregional.com and the link on this episode's show notes for more information. And save the dates, October 18th through the 21st. We will be in Quebec City to celebrate the 50th live RIMS Canada Conference. Booth sales are open and sponsorship opportunities are still available. And advanced registration is open now. Visit rimscanadaconference.ca for more information. And also remember to check out rims.org/Canada for our spin-off show, RIMScast Canada, hosted by National Conference Committee Chair Aaron Luconi. The RIMS ERM Conference 2026 will be held November 19th and 20th in Columbus, Ohio. Registration opens in July. And be on the lookout for an announcement about submissions for the RIMS Global ERM Award of Distinction. Visit rims.org/ERM 2026. And now let's return to our interview with RIMS Texas Regional Conference 2026 keynote, Jerome Mayne. We were talking before we were rolling. We have stand-up comedy in common. And I was a mediocre stand-up in New York City from 2006 to about 2007. I just kind of went up there and did it.
Yep.
And I was never the best, but I was certainly not the worst. Or at least that's what my grandma said. And so that old gag. But it does take a certain type of person or a certain calling to want to get up and do that. Now, you had already done that prior to your indictments, right? You were doing improv.
Yeah. Did improv and started doing a little stand-up, some open stages and stuff. 6 months after I started getting into that. So I'd always been a performer. I've always been a musician and performed on stage and did all that. But it was, I just started having fun because my life was, swimming along just great. And just, I'll do some open stage, do improv stuff. And then, boom, I was indicted. And so, it became, you know how comedy can imitate life, and most of the time that's some of the best stories, and the audience really connects with you then. And if they connect with you, they're laughing and you win.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world. It's the best feeling.
But it became, I was going through a pre-trial and I didn't have a job anymore. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going to happen to me. And so, I have to say my life wasn't happy. When you're in a club every night of the week to work on comedy or whatnot, there's some bad habits you can develop.
Yeah, sure.
And so my life kind of went into that area. But there's some great stuff about some of the people I met.
Yeah.
Especially after I pled guilty. That takes a while from that point until you actually have to go to prison. So I had several months and I didn't know what to expect in prison. So I found a lot of material.
Right.
I mean, because you're scared.
Oh, sure.
You don't know. And are people going to know? And then I figured, well, I'll just embrace it, And so a lot of my material was about that.
I could see where you would, at the very least, stand out as having a completely different set of material than practically every other comic that would be up on stage for an open mic night. How many other people, some people may have already been to prison, but how many people could say, I'm getting ready for my 21-month stint. Let's try this out.
Well, it scares people. And, with comedy, if you have a serious story, there's a way as somebody on the stage, you have to make sure that you're giving the audience permission to laugh about something.
Right.
That's serious. I had cancer, kind of during prison or at the end.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to blow the story. But after I got out, I find comedy all over the place, even in serious nightmare stuff. And I had some funny stuff that happened during the cancer, and that material didn't work because they never felt comfortable that I was going to make a joke about it.
It was too dire.
Yeah, it was funny stuff, man. but I didn't give them permission to laugh at something so serious.
Right. And is that the sort of thing that you refined in this second stage or third stage of your career now, where you have figured out the way to connect with the audience early to let them know that everything here is either supposed to be a takeaway or something to laugh with?
Well, you're getting the story, your audience doesn't get the bullet points, and
right.
Not really telling a story about fraud.
Right.
I'm telling a story about life, and that it's not even a story about me. It's a story about you.
Right.
It's a story about the audience, and not that they're going to do it or have done it, but everybody is eligible to make a bad decision. You can be a great father. You can be the CEO. You're eligible. And it's whether or not you do, and you recognize that decisions I make, they're going to have consequences.
Yeah.
And so what I try to do is connect with the audience, and I have found that a lot of people to be receptive of some stuff is really serious. Family stuff involved in my story, and people need to feel comfortable listening. So it's not. They're not learning textbook information. They're learning from a story, and they can reflect just on what they see, situations that they've been in.
Right.
So I found that comedy helps loosen people up so they can listen. And they're not up there going, wow, that's a felon. Because here's the thing, from what I hear, I don't look like one. And they don't look a certain way, and that's important too.
Right. Right. Because you bring up an interesting point. We have so many of our listeners who are chief risk officers and risk leaders, and their job is to help make better decisions. And I feel like some of them may blur the lines out of an act of desperation. They may be thinking through the lens of the parent who's got kids in college or approaching college or something like that. Yeah. And I feel like that's how you're going to connect with them best.
I, I have found that, and
Yeah.
it wasn't on purpose.
Right.
I didn't do that on purpose, and you may know this. It Doing some stand up really did prepare me to be a speaker,
Oh, totally.
because
Yeah.
you get beat up as a stand up, and you have to connect with the group to convey your story.
Yeah.
Because that's what comedy is, right? Um, so I found that worked, and I get something out of it.
Sure.
I need to feel good about that, and it, it, I never thought that was part of what I was going to do, or that I would feel fulfilled being, I guess, providing entertainment and people to walk away going, "Wow, I'm never gonna forget that."
Right.
And I can't say that. I'm so good, Justin, that they're never gonna forget me. I'm not
Right.
saying
No.
that, but what you do is you hear that, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I
Yeah.
guess I did something right there."
Yeah.
I guess it mattered.
Yeah. Now, I was also a musician prior to comedy when I was in high school. And what did you play or did you sing?
I was a piano player and a singer, so Elton John guy.
Gotcha.
If you search the internet enough, you'll find my old Elton John tribute band. After I got out of prison, I had an Elton John tribute band for a while.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was the Elton guy.
Oh, wow. That I could see. You put the hat on and put some flashy sequin shirt on or something, and you can pull it off. You can hit those notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, I played bass. I wanted to be Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So,
oh man.
So you and I, though, when we were on stage, you had an instrument. You had almost something to protect you, right?
Yeah.
In a way, it was the thing that you relied on. When you're a comedian, though, you have unless you're Carrot Top, you got nothing else to rely on.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's you. It's you. And you read the group. I guess I really like telling my story, and I have found that people get something out of it.
Yeah.
And I have to be fulfilled also, or I wouldn't do this anymore.
Right.
And that does help. I do like to connect with the group. And as a speaker, one of the things that's so important to me is just like a stand-up, you've got to connect and read the audience and see where they're going in real time.
Yeah.
And you just have to change it. I mean, you could be a speaker, the smartest guy in the state, and people will walk out of there and they got nothing.
Right.
Because it wasn't a connection. I like to think that I'm able to connect. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I better have found where the pause needs to be for the comic. I mean, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We used to call it taking a beat, right?
Yep, that's the beat.
Take the beat.
And it changes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Folks, let's talk about an issue that's near and dear to my heart. Sponsorships. You can sponsor a RIMScast episode either on our publicly facing weekly show, that's this show, or with a dedicated episode. RIMScast is proud of its long-standing relationships with AXA XL, Global Risk Consultants, Alliant, Zurich, and more. Links to many of these episodes are on our show notes. And RIMScast sponsorships can be bundled with white papers and webinar sponsorships. RIMScast has a global audience comprised of risk and insurance professionals, legal professionals, students, business leaders, C-suite executives, and more. Let's collaborate and help you reach them. Reach out to my good friend Ted Donovan at tdonovan@rims.org or reach out to sales@rims.org. Let's find the best opportunity for you and your organization. And now let's conclude our dialogue with RIMS Texas Regional Conference 2026 keynote, Jerome Mayne. Do you stay informed on, in this case, risk and insurance matters, or I'm sure you speak at, I know, dozens of other conferences over the course of a year. Do you follow a little bit on what their areas of practice or expertise might be just to help customize the keynote a little bit?
To be dead honest with you, I can't say I don't keep up I don't read and study current trends. I know them,
Yeah.
but maybe not more than the average consumer. And I don't, you hear this as a lot of speakers will say, hey, you have to be a thought leader. You're going to be a thought leader,
Buzzwords,
and that's
right?
okay. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Some people, that's what they do. And I respect that. I'm not a thought leader,
Right.
I'm a storyteller.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it if people weren't getting something out of it. I don't think I would be on stage at conferences if somebody hadn't heard, hey, this guy might be a good fit.
Right. Right.
And not because I kept up on that industry. It's not like I don't understand risk and that I don't understand, fraud and ethics. I do. I understand them more, however, in a human, the way humans might make decisions or how they might avoid making decisions,
Right. Now, earlier you mentioned culture, and let's just call it also a tone from the top sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Are there organizational leaders out there that you think are setting a good example who really set the right tone from the top? Who do you like?
Yeah, they're all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, there's good people everywhere.
Okay.
And I think most people are. That is one of the things I was telling you. It's most people are. I always think people are good people, and first to answer your question, good leaders, good cultures, they're all over the place. And I don't think it's a bad idea to do a check-in on your group, on your organization, on your people, to make sure they're comfortable saying stuff like, hey, I think I made a bad decision. Can we talk about that?
Right.
Wow, is that different than people think? Usually people think, and this is important too, that you got to come in and say, hey, I think I might make a bad decision, whatever. But I'm talking about afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because if people are scared, man, they're not going to make the right decision. And they don't feel supported. That's my feeling. No, it's not my feeling. I know that. You're scared. You're more more likely to make a bad choice.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the top down, like you were saying, and that's a very old concept. And if people are scared, it's not going to happen. That's my feeling.
Jerome, you've lived through the consequences of a decision that changed your life forever. Today, in 2026, when you hear the word risk, does it resonate with you differently than it did 25 to 30 years ago?
I'll bring it to the ethics part and the decision-making part. What I've learned from my experience is that sometimes you can make decisions and choices back then. And even, I don't know, 5 years after I was involved with those people at the lender, I look back at those decisions and I thought, man, that's not even me.
Right.
Why would I ever have made those decisions that didn't make sense? It certainly wasn't financial.
Right.
It was, wow, and that's the piece that I think when people look back, it just doesn't look the same as it did when you're in it, the forest for the trees type of thing. It doesn't look the same when you are looking back at it. And so I can look at and think about risk and, financial danger, whatever you want to call it. And I think of people, I think of the humans and how they have to make decisions. And it's really maybe one of the biggest things. I didn't say this at all, but it's about trusting yourself.
Yeah.
Trusting that you are going to make a good decision. And if you have support from the organization, you're going to feel comfortable talking about it. And if there's silence and fear, I'll go back to that. And I'll say that's important to make sure there's none of that.
All right. Well, this has been one of the standouts here at RIMScast because we don't get too many people with your resume here. So this is really, it's really cool. And I look forward to having you keynote the RIMS Texas Regional Conference in San Antonio on August 11th at the beautiful San Antonio Riverwalk. You ever been there?
I'm pretty sure I have.
Oh, you're pretty sure. You remember from the sweltering heat that, yes, you were there.
I think it was a really nice place.
Yeah.
I've spoken up in different places, but I know that was a really nice place.
And they have a Howl at the Moon there, so maybe you get some piano going over there and
oh yeah,
get up there and do some dueling piano, bust out some Elton John.
There
maybe
you go.
Maybe do a little leave on for us, a little deep cut.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Jerome, and I look forward to having you start things off right for us at the RIMS Texas Regional Conference.
All right, can't wait. Thank you.
Special thanks again to Jerome Mayne for joining us here on RIMScast. Check out his site, jeromemayne.com, for more information. We look forward to his keynote at the RIMS Texas Regional Conference 2026 on the morning of Tuesday, August 11th at the Grand Hyatt on the San Antonio Riverwalk. And be sure to follow up with him in the hallways afterwards and let him know that you heard him here on RIMScast. Let's talk about RIMS membership, folks. Become a RIMS member and get access to the tools, thought leadership, and network you need to succeed. Visit rims.org/membership or email membershipdept@rims.org for more information. And let's also talk about Risk Knowledge. This is the RIMS searchable content library that provides relevant information for today's risk professionals. Available materials include RIMS executive reports, survey findings, contributed articles, industry research, benchmarking data, and more. For the best reporting on the profession of risk management, check out Risk Management Magazine. This is the Society's official quarterly digital publication. It is written and published by the best minds in risk management. My name is Justin Smulison, Business Content Manager here at RIMS. Please remember to subscribe to RIMScast on your favorite podcasting app. Email us at content@rims.org. Practice good risk management, stay safe, and thank you again for your continued support.